My uncle slid a piece of paper across the dinner table and told me to sign it before the food got cold. I looked at it. Then I looked at him. Then I looked at my Aunt Linda, who was suddenly very interested in her green bean casserole, completely avoiding my eyes. And something went cold inside me. Not the food. Me. That paper was a quitclaim deed. It had my grandmother's property on it. The same house I'd been promised since I was 9 years old, sitting beside her in a nursing home bed, holding her hand. And now, on the day of her funeral, barely hours after we'd put her in the ground, my own family wanted me to sign it away before we even reached dessert. I didn't sign it. What I did instead changed everything. My name is Cassidy Renner. I'm from a small town called Harlan's Bluff, Kentucky. Population maybe 4,000 if you count the stray dogs. It's the kind of place where everybody knows your business, your mama's business, and your mama's mama's business going back 3 generations. My grandmother, Ruth Renner, was the axis. This whole family spun around. She was 79, sharp as a tack, and she made the best biscuits in Harlan County. I'm not exaggerating. People literally brought her flour as a gift. That is how good her biscuits were. She raised me from the time I was 11. My mom, her youngest daughter, passed from a heart condition when I was in 5th grade. My dad had been out of the picture since I was 3. So Ruth took me in, gave me her spare bedroom with the yellow curtains, and raised me the same way she'd raised her own kids, with chores, church on Sundays, and a firm belief that you say what you mean, and you mean what you say. She also, at some point when I wasn't paying attention, wrote a will. I didn't know the full details of that will until I turned 18. What I knew was what Grandma Ruth had told me, quietly more than once over the years. She'd sit in her rocking chair on the porch, the one that faced the garden, and say, "Cassidy girl, this house is yours when I'm gone. Don't you let anybody tell you different." I believed her, because Ruth Renner did not make promises she didn't keep. But here's the truth about promises. They only hold if someone's still alive to enforce them. Grandma Ruth passed on a Thursday in February. Pneumonia. It moved fast. I drove the 2 hours from Lexington, where I'd been doing my first year at community college, and I made it just in time to hold her hand. She couldn't talk much by then, but she squeezed my fingers in a way that said everything she couldn't say out loud. I stayed for the service. I stayed for the reception at Uncle Dennis and Aunt Linda's house. I ate a plate of food I couldn't taste and shook hands with people whose names I kept forgetting. And then, right around 7 that evening, Uncle Dennis cleared his throat and said, "Cassidy, come sit down. We need to talk about the house." Uncle Dennis is 52. He sells insurance, coaches Little League, and does that manipulative thing where he puts his hand on your shoulder while he's talking. Like he's steadying you, but really he's making sure you don't move until he's done. He sat across from me at that table. Linda was beside him. Their son Marcus, 26, leaned against the counter with his arms crossed, and I had this awful feeling, the kind you get when the air in a room shifts right before something bad happens. Dennis said the house was getting old, said the roof needed work, said the property taxes had been piling up, and that he and Linda had been quietly handling it. He used that word like it was a favor. He claimed Grandma Ruth hadn't updated her paperwork in a long time, and that it made sense for the property to go through the estate cleanly. Then he slid the quitclaim deed across the table. "Sign here," he said. "It's just paperwork. It's what Grandma would have wanted." I stared at it for a long moment. Then I said, "I'm going to need to call someone first." His hand tightened slightly on my shoulder. "It's late, Cassidy." "That's okay," I said. "She said I could call any time." Her name was Joanne Pickett, a small estate attorney in town. I only knew her name because of a note I'd found tucked inside my grandmother's Bible 3 months earlier. I'd been visiting for Christmas when a folded index card slipped out of the pages. On it, in her handwriting, was a name, a phone number, and 4 words I didn't understand at the time. For Cassidy. "Don't wait." I'd taken a photo of it and kept it without knowing why. Now I knew. I stepped outside, wrapped my grandmother's cardigan around my shoulders, and called. Joanne picked up on the third ring. When I told her who I was, she went quiet, then said, "I've been expecting this call. Don't sign anything tonight. Can you come see me in the morning?" I said yes. I went back inside. Dennis asked if I was ready. I told him I needed to sleep on it. Linda smiled too quickly and said that was fine, in a voice that said it wasn't. Marcus stared at his phone. That night in the yellow curtain room, I lay awake staring at the ceiling and thinking, someone in this family loved me enough to plan ahead. I just had to trust it. Joanne's office was above a hardware store on Clement Street. I was there the next morning with gas station coffee and whatever composure I had left. She'd handled my grandmother's estate for years. She knew exactly what was in that will, and she told me the house was mine. Directly, not through the estate, not shared, mine. My grandmother had updated everything 14 months earlier because she suspected her son might try something at the last minute. She'd prepaid the taxes, set aside money for the roof, put it all in my name, accessible when I turned 18, which I had. Dennis hadn't handled anything. He was just hoping I didn't know that. I sat there and felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not even relief yet, just a quiet certainty, like finally finding solid ground after not realizing how unsteady everything felt. Grandma Ruth had known. She'd seen it coming, and she'd protected me without making a scene, one document at a time. Dennis called me twice that morning. I let it go to voicemail. He texted from Linda's phone. I didn't respond. Joanne filed everything that week. Clean, legal, final. Dennis tried to fight it, sent a letter claiming undue influence. Joanne responded with a full timeline of documents going back 11 years. The letters stopped. Marcus texted me once, said I was selfish, said the family was being ripped apart over a house. I read it 3 times. Then I replied, I didn't sign anything, and that was the end of it. Some family members left. Some apologized. I kept the ones who did. The rest, I let go quietly, the way my grandmother would have. The house is mine now. I moved back to Harlan's Bluff, fixed the roof, painted the porch, planted tomatoes in the garden she loved, kept her rocking chair exactly where it always was. I also changed my major to paralegal studies, because what happened to me happens to a lot of people. People grieving, people vulnerable, people handed a pen at the worst moment of their lives and told that signing is what love looks like. It isn't. It never was. My grandmother didn't argue. She didn't make scenes. She prepared, quietly, carefully, completely. That was her way of protecting me, and it was enough. Last month, I found a letter she left me. Cassidy girl, I know what's coming. This house is yours because you stayed. You showed up. Don't apologize for receiving what was given. Don't let anyone make you feel greedy for accepting love. I am so proud of you. Now go water the tomatoes. I read it on the porch while the dogwood tree started to bloom. I didn't stop the tears. Some things deserve them. The good kind, the kind that come from being known and protected all the way through. Then I watered the tomatoes. If someone is pressuring you to sign something, don't. Your grief is not a negotiation window. Your vulnerability is not an invitation. Family does not consume each other. Love does not come with a quitclaim deed attached. Find the people who protect you. And if no one has, start protecting yourself. My name is Cassidy Renner. I live in my grandmother's house in Harlan's Bluff, Kentucky. I drink my coffee on her porch under the dogwood tree she planted the year I was born. Nobody signed anything, and everything is exactly as it should be.